All that work on Saria hadn't helped him at all. He wasn't sure why he was here, what he was meant to do. Just the thought of the First Order made bile rise in his throat, so he tried to forget and ignore it most of the time. Of course, that didn't mean he was rushing into the open arms of the Resistance. For all their talk of freedom, they hadn't offered him much of it personally. He'd had no choice regarding Saria, and no choice regarding Batu, nor in the babysitter who seemed carefully selected to dredge up old unwanted memories and new, confusing, conflicting feelings.
Lieutenant Maradi is gone,
Pook noted.
Would you like your extra painkillers?
You wouldn't be so smug if you could feel pain, Archex shot back, hobbling toward the droid for the extra pills he took whenever Vi wasn't around. Cut in half, and you felt nothing. Lucky.
Oh, yes.
Pook's voice dripped sarcasm.
Lucky is definitely the word I'd use for my current predicament. I assure you, the torture of my continued existence far exceeds the paltry jangling of your simple human nervous system.
Then power down, and let me suffer in peace.
That would benefit us both. It is my duty to remind you that Lieutenant Maradi has requested that you not venture too far from the camp.
Archex snorted, like I even could if I wanted to.
You know, your healing might progress with marked improvement if you took better care of your psyche and didn't push yourself so hard. Your adrenal glands must be shriveled husks. Perhaps you could use this time to relax. The human body requires downtime, too.
He hated it when Pook stopped complaining and started... well, caring wasn't exactly the word. But sometimes when Vi was gone, it was as if Pook dropped his melancholy front and actively tried to do his job, putting his major focus on Archex, which Archex resisted. Here's a little hint, Pook. No sentient being ever relaxed because someone repeatedly commanded them to relax.
Then find something to do. It's not really my problem. Goodbye.
That was better. Snippy Pook was something Archex could deal with, and it was even better when the droid went offline. Finally, he was alone. Vi was gone. Pook was pretty much asleep, and Archex could get on with the exercise protocol he'd been following every day of his adult life, when he wasn't strapped down in a Resistance medbay. Counting reps of sit-ups, push-ups, and pull-ups was as close as he'd got to the meditation they'd pushed on him in Saria. When he had completed his workout, he was indeed calmer, his mind clearer. He bathed at the cenote, and tried not to bristle at the feeling of dressing in the same filthy clothing, just as he had as a child on Jakku. Over the past 20 years, he'd taken so much for granted among the First Order. Waking up in a comfortable bed, enjoying a hot shower with the proper accoutrement, shaving with sharp razors, putting on a crisp, perfectly folded, freshly cleaned uniform. The wilds of the Batu forest made everything in him revolt. He hated the chaos, the quiet, the sunlight, the feeling as if he were always being watched, even though it was mostly by a curious pair of feathered reptiles Pook had identified as Lahairu. But most of all, he just needed something to do, some way to be useful. That was the greatest thing he'd lost, not the First Order itself, but his own personal sense of order, the solid knowledge that he served a greater purpose. They'd sent him here to help build things, but there was nothing to build. He'd been told he could run the comms, but there were no comms. He'd been commanded to support Vi, but she was the most self-sufficient person he'd ever met. And now, after all their setbacks, he couldn't hobble half a mile to work at the junk heap beside her. She wouldn't even let him try. He stumped out into the forest in a direction he hadn't yet scouted, and was pleased to find several terrine bushes. If he built drying racks, using what he wasn't sure, they could have tea. He didn't like tea, but at the very least it felt like he was producing something. He rolled the leaves into careful tubes and stuffed them in his pockets. Foraging on but
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.